Hey guys, I just want to make this video and just talk to you about the entrepreneur mindset. Don't mind the layout here. Just got my little home gymnasium down, tucked away in the dark corner of the basement here. So, what I just wanted to talk about was, like the mindset of being an entrepreneur, because it's really easy to get discouraged. I'm sure there's probably millions of stories about entrepreneurs or people who wanted to go and start their own business, create something, do something for themselves, and then it didn't work out. They got frustrated, they gave up, they quit for whatever reason, right? And I can completely relate to that, because when I first started, because when I first started, my wife and I, right about the time I was trying to set up an online business, was when my wife and I moved in together, right? So we moved in together, and then we found out that she had some pretty serious medical issues. And we kind of just stumbled upon it because she was getting some tests done. She was getting some routine tests done, and they kind of, they had to keep calling her back, and every time they call her back, we get a little bit more worried, until finally they were able to tell us that there was like a tumor on her lung. It looked like it was cancer, and that we needed to do something about it, or that we had choices. So what do we want to do? So we kind of addressed it and dealt with that type of thing. But it was really her, watching her go through that and never even thinking about giving up, where I was like, okay, maybe the fact that I didn't strike it rich in my first two ever online endeavors, maybe it's worth going back and not giving up so easily, right? And what's kind of kept me going, because there's been like good days and bad days as far as the whole online business thing goes, is that I found this other podcast that I listened to. It's called Jocko Podcast. And this guy's an ex-Navy SEAL. What he does is he reviews books that are usually about soldiers, people who fought in wars. He's written several books, but it's really, when you listen to those stories, because there's one about a guy who, like, his legs were, I don't know if they were broken, or he had some problems with his legs, right? And he's thinking about, he's like, yeah, in about a year from now, my legs are better, I'm going to try to escape and make a run for it, So, I mean, as far as like thinking about like playing the long game and not like, being like miserable about your current situation. And there's this other story about this guy who was injured. This was during the Korean War. He was captured and he was in a hospital, but the bathroom that they had for the prisoners was out back, and it was basically a trench that was filled with liquid poo. So this guy's back was hurting, his legs didn't work, so he had to crawl around. And basically he goes to the edge of the trench and pulls his pants down. He's trying to do his business, and he falls into this trench, right? Like a normal person like you and me probably would have been able to, a healthy person might have been able to claw their way out of this, but he wasn't able to. And he talks about how he was scared and was panicking because he thought he was going to die in this trench of liquid poo. Unfortunately, he was rescued. Some soldiers who were also prisoners in that camp, they came and pulled him out, and the guards saw and came over and beat him, and it was just like horrible and whatnot. But as far as, I know it's a horrible story, but as far as mindset, like, listen to his podcast, finding something about stories about survival, perseverance, that kind of thing. I feel like that's kind of what helps me personally, when I get in like the tough times, as far as, my own self-doubt and fears when it comes to being an entrepreneur. So, you don't have to go listen to that podcast. I think it's pretty awesome. You should go check it out if you want to, but find something where it's like, you think like, okay, like, whatever this bad situation is, at least it's not as bad as, that other thing that I read about or heard about in that podcast. So yeah, stay strong, remember that it is a struggle, but the struggle is the way. So keep it up, and I will see you in the next video.